Hi, this is Joanna and I'm back today with a Wintry Happy Birthday card. And I'm using this uber cute stamp set from My Favorite Things. I just love all those beers. And I'm going to create my own background, so I'm using this stencil with Falling Snow from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm starting out by creating my card base, and I'm using Nina Solo White 110 pounds. And this is a standard size top folding card, so it's 5.5 and 4.25. And then I have cut a craft cardstock just slightly smaller. And I am going to ink this up, so I'm using my corner jumper first, so I'm rounding all of the four corners with 1/2 inch. And then I'm using some walnut distress ink to ink up the edges. And I'm not really careful to get a good blend, because I am going to put snow over this, so it will look good in the end anyway. So it doesn't matter if the blending is not perfect. And here is the stencil, so I'm just using some washi tape to tape it in place. And I'm working off my non-stick craft mat. This is really good, really easy to clean off. And I'm using modeling paste. I have bought this in a Swedish craft store, and I wouldn't recommend this. It dried up really fast and it's really hard to work with. But I'm using Dreamweaver embossing paste also. I don't have it in white, unfortunately, but I have it in translucent and also in gold and silver, and I love to use that. That stuff is like frosting. So I'm linking to white Dreamweaver in the YouTube description down below if you want to check it out. And here I want my snow to be glittery. So I have this glitter from Martha Stewart, so I'm just tapping it onto all of my snowflakes. And now I want to create a snowbank, so I'm using my palette knife and I'm just smushing my embossing paste on top of the card base. And I don't want this to be too thick, because then it will never dry and the card will also be too heavy to send through the mail. But I still want the embossing paste to cover up the cardstock. So I'm just working with it here, and I'm also trying to create some lines so it's not entirely smooth, so it looks like a snowy hill. And then I'm just removing the excess with my palette knife, and I'm also using my fingers to smooth out the edges. And again, I'm using my fine glitter from Martha Stewart. This is in clear, to cover up all of my snow, to make it really sparkly and glittery. And now it's time to color my bear, and I stamped him twice because I wasn't sure if I wanted the shirt to be green or blue. But I like the green one, so I stick just to coloring one. So I'm using 3 shades of green here, and I'm starting out with the lightest, and then I'm going in with the mid-tone, and then I'm doing the darkest, and I'm doing some tip-to-tip technique as well, just trying to blend out the colors. And I do love using my Copic markers, but I'm no expert at all, so it always takes me quite a long time to color in an image. I think if you are really good at Copics, you can color beautifully in no time. But I'm not there yet, but I really enjoy working with them and I do like the result. And I'm using some warm grays on the bear's body, because I want him to appear white, but I don't want him to be stark white. And I think warm grays are perfect if you are doing animals. It gets a really realistic look. And I also wanted, I started out by coloring the cup white. But I didn't like that, so I will change that later, but I will show you that later. And then I'm cutting him out with my scissors, and I'm leaving just a thin white border. And I think it's easier when you are cutting out images if you turn the paper instead of the scissors. Then it's much easier to get a clean cut. And here he is, all cut out. And I will stamp one of the stars or snowflakes on top of the mug. And I think he turned out really cute, but I didn't like the mug, but I will set him aside and think about what to do. In the meantime, I will stamp my sentiment, and it's from the same stamp set, and I'm stamping it on a piece of vellum. And I'm using my Fisker stamp press to line it up. And then I'm using some white embossing powder. And I'm just using my heat tool to melt it completely. And then I'm working the paper a little bit to prevent warping. And I want the edges to be a little interesting, so I'm just using my fingers to tear the paper. And I think this adds some interest and also some dimension to the card. So otherwise I will put the sentiment on top of the card, and I will have the snowbank in the bottom. So I don't want the card to be heavy on the bottom, so that's why I created so much interest with the sentiment strip. And then I'm just using my ATD again to adhere it in place. And this took it took about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes for the embossing paste to dry for the snowbank. So I actually went for a walk with my dog, and when I came back it was all dry. And here I'm just adhering my bear, and I'm using some multi-matte where the body is going to be adhered onto top of the glittery snow. And then I'm just using some foam tape on the head to attach him to the card. And I'm just using an acrylic block to put over him to make sure that he adheres correctly or flat on top of the card. And I think that this card missed something, so I pulled out my Wink of Stella, but this card has so much glitter already, so I don't want the entire sweater to be glittery, so I just made some polka dots with my Wink of Stella. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's really subtle, and it ties the bear a little bit more to the card. And then I'm using my ATD again, and adhering the top panel on top of my card. And if you are interested in any of the supplies that I used in today's video, they will be listed in the YouTube description down below or over at my blog. And here you can see all the glitter. But as I said, I wasn't happy about the mug. So I'm stamping the mug again, and this time I'm coloring it red. I think that looks a little bit better, and it goes very good with his Santa's hat. So I'm just using 2 shades of red. And then I also want to use the snowflake again, but I want to emboss it in white to tie it together with the sentiment. So I'm stamping the snowflake on top of the mug. And then I'm just pouring some white embossing powder over it. And I'm using detailed embossing powder. I really love this stuff. It embosses all of those tiny images and very narrow sentiments perfectly. And then I'm using my scissors again, and I'm cutting this out right against the stamped border. And I'm using my black Copic marker to paint in the edges, just to make sure that no white cardstock is showing through. And then I can adhere this to my card, and I did paint the mug underneath red, just to make sure that no white was showing through there either. And then I'm using my multi-medium in the matte finish to adhere the mug onto the card. So if anything oozes out on the sides, this stuff dries matte, so it won't show. So this was all for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.